Hello friends and welcome to Sustainable Prepping, your home for fear-free emergency preparedness and a sustainable life. My name is Brecky and today I'm bringing you another emergency preparedness-ish related book recommendations video. These are going to be all books that are adjacent to emergency preparedness, but not quite in the emergency camp. And today we're going to be specifically talking about gardening. If you're new here, I want to say a great big welcome. I am so glad you found my slice of the internet. We are growing, y'all, even with a month hiatus that I sort of accidentally took because life has been bonker pants. You guys have been showing up and telling your friends and telling the community. We're almost to 1,500 subscribers. I'm super excited. And when we get to 2,000, I'm gonna do a big Q&A. So tell your friends, bring your community along, share the word. If this video is something that is valuable to you, post it in a community where others can find its value. Now I wanna preface to say that these are not the only books I have on gardening, and these may not be the first books you need if you've never gardened in your life. However, for an emergency preparedness standpoint, I think these three books are really helpful because they cover a broad spectrum of gardening issues and gardening needs that would be essential to someone who wants to have an emergency preparedness garden, right? Not a hobby gardener, not someone who's doing it just for funsies, but somebody who's approaching their garden as a part of their preparedness lifestyle. These are three books that I think will absolutely help in that department. If you'd like me to do a recommendation of some of the best books I have for beginner gardeners, let me know. I have a few that I think are fabulous, but this is meant for folks who maybe have dabbled a bit in gardening and are serious about using their gardening as a prep. Here are three books I think would be absolutely fabulous in your emergency preparedness library. Now, book number one should come as no surprise because I love this publisher. I love this entire line, and that is the Backyard Homestead by Story Publishing. Now, it is edited by Carleen Madigan, but this is just a wonderful bird's eye view of what it takes to turn your backyard into a working homestead. They have recommendations and plans for places as small as 1/10 of an acre, which is standard kind of urban city lot, okay? They have things that go up to, I think, 1 to 2 acres, and they give you layouts and ideas for how you can plan them. See how they have, they have whole layouts and plans for ways to make the most of your space and to turn your backyard into a homestead. I like this because not all of us are prepared to move to the country to live on 5 to 40 acres of land and grow all of our own food all the time. Some of us don't have the luxury of moving. Some of us don't have the means. Some of us don't have the ability to do animal husbandry or to do gardening at the kind of intensity that a lot of true homesteads, true self-sufficient homesteads are aiming for. So this is a great book that can help you start where you are. And just like in the Kitchen Know-How book, this is a great overview. It's got ways to keep your plants, warm when it's cold, how to put together raised beds, how to seed start, how to know the care and keeping of different kinds of vegetables and fruits and things, how to begin to preserve some of your harvest. It's got stuff for like the weeds, common weeds and herbs and things. It's got a section on grains. It's got a section on care of animals. This is just a really great primer if you are interested in taking your gardening to the next level. If you've thought about homesteading, if maybe you've not thought about homesteading because it seems like way too much to take on, but you do want to have a serious garden, maybe incorporating some more longer term gardening preps like fruit trees, nut trees, maybe even bringing in chickens or quail or rabbits into your habitat. If you've dabbled a little bit in what would it take to replace 25, 30, 40% of our family's calorie needs, how could we grow that? This is just the best first book to get on the topic, I think. It's comprehensive, it's chatty, it's easy, it's accessible, and it's just, it's lovely, right? It's got how to milk a goat. You may not want a goat right now, but you might decide in 10 years to get a goat, right? You've got a primer on all of that. It's got all kinds of stuff for like preserving the meat you grow on your homestead. It's just got everything, a little bit on foraging, a little bit on honeybees. It's just got so much in here that if you were gonna get a single book this would be the single book to get. I have been really pleased with everything from the story line, particularly in this Backyard Homesteading line. They have a couple of other books. Anything from story, particularly when it comes to the Backyard Homestead line, is fabulous. But this book and the Kitchen Know-How book, if you were gonna get two books to help you on your emergency preparedness and homesteading journey, those would be the two to get. Now, my second and third recommendations are going to be quite nuanced. They may not work for you because you may not be in an area where you have enough space, or you have the time, or you have the finances to invest. But if you do, and you're ready to take your garden to the next level as a part of your emergency preparedness plan, then this is a great book to get you started on fruit. Then my recommendation is another book from the Story publishers, and that is Story's Guide to Growing Organic Orchard Fruits. And this is by Danny L. Barney. As you can see, I got a used copy because the new copy is kind of expensive, but this is a really great, again, a primer on growing fruits and doing it in an organic way, and all kinds of information here on different fruit trees, on all kinds of, like, this is just a whole different list of apples. This is just a wonderful beginner's guide to growing fruit. Now, if you're someone who is interested in creating a backyard homestead and using your gardening, okay, your growing capacity as a prep, as a part of your emergency preparedness plan, then planting fruit trees is an essential piece. Now, you might say, why? It's going to take a couple of years for the fruit to really yield. And that's true. You do have to live in a place where you're going to be there for 5 to 10 years to really get the benefit. However, once you get fruit trees in the ground, and if you can care for them and they don't succumb to blight and pests, your fruit trees are going to be fairly low effort, high yield investments. Fruit trees can produce pounds and hundreds of pounds of fruit that you can then barter and trade, you can preserve. It's going to give you lots of nutrients. They can grow in soils that would not necessarily work well for vegetables. They can grow on terrains that would not work well for vegetables. And if you're interested in permaculture, which is a whole different kettle of fish, I am not a permaculture expert, but if you are interested in permaculture, fruiting trees absolutely must be a part of your plan. So if you're serious about food production, long-term food production as a part of your plan, I would 100% recommend getting the Growing Organic Orchard Fruits, that's a very long title, the Growing Fruits Guide from Story. My third and final recommendation for those of you who are taking your garden and turning it into a part of your emergency preparedness plan is going to be how to care for that garden once you have it in, and that is Rodell's Ultimate Encyclopedia of Organic Gardening. This is the revised and updated version. I actually had an older version that I got at a thrift store, and I donated that when I was able to get this newer version that I also got through like a discounted books outlet. This is wonderful for those of you who are committed to an organic garden, because you're going to have pests. You're going to have to deal with aphids and other creatures who are going to eat your plants, slugs and such. You're going to deal with soil that may have blight. You're going to deal with blossom end rot. You're going to deal with things, okay? Whatever climate you're in, no matter how well you do, you're going to battle bugs, you're going to battle blight, you're going to battle weather. You are going to have to be creative. And for those of us that are committed to being organic, and I think you should be for a whole host of reasons, but the least of which is that you want the least amount of chemical inputs that you are going to rely on. Okay, so organic gardeners are going to rely on things, but most of that is stuff that you can kind of find around your own home. This is going to give you a really comprehensive guide. They have it by plant, okay? They have it by plant, and then they have it have a whole map of fertilizers. They have, this is just all alphabetical by the plant, what you would need. They have a whole troubleshooting section for starting seeds, issues with soil, seed saving. They have whole issues on like how to deal with trees. This is just, again, your one-stop, big, comprehensive guide to dealing with an organic garden and dealing with the challenges that come from an organic garden. while you could get really specific and you could have just a vegetable grower's guide, just a fruiting, plant guide for fruiting shrubs and trees, you could have just a soil guide, you could have all kinds of really specific guides, and they're out there. This is the best investment if you want a one-stop shop. You want the most comprehensive guide out there. This is the best that I've ever found. It has a whole list of like common plant diseases. It has just all kinds of ideas and know-how. And Rodell's has been around for, over 100 years. Rodell's is a really well-trusted institution. They're a really well-trusted gardening group, and they have been committed to organic gardening since before organic was a term, since before some of the chemical fertilizers that we take for granted were even in use. They have been around. So if you're looking for a single book to help you with the pest control, with insecticide, all the stuff to do with pests, to do with soil issues, to do with plant health, this is going to be the best go-to book as you are turning your garden into a prep. All right, y'all, so these are the 3 books that I recommend for anybody who is interested in taking their garden and turning it into a part of their emergency preparedness plan. So for those of you who are building out your emergency preparedness library and you want to get some books on gardening specifically, these are the 3 I would begin with. Now, I want to say that there are tons of beginner guides to gardening, and if you would like me to do my recommendations on those beginner guides, you let me know and I'll do that video. But for those of you who've gotten a little bit of gardening under your belt, you want to take and elevate that garden to the next level, these 3 are the 3 recommendations that I have for your library today. Y'all comment down below and let me know, what books would you recommend? What books would you recommend that aren't just beginner guides, they're slightly above beginner, right? You assume that someone's had a garden before, even if it's been a small one. What would you add to this collection of books that can help someone take their beginner baby garden and turn it into a really high yielding, high producing garden that can help you sustain yourself in an emergency? I'd love to hear your recommendations because I haven't read everything out there, and I will happily read some of what you suggest. As always, y'all, you can find all my links to Instagram and the Facebook group down in the description. I would love to chat with you more. And if you found this video valuable, please, again, share it with a friend, share it with a group. I'd love to reach out to more and more folks who are interested in a fear-free way of doing emergency preparedness. Until the next video, y'all, happy prepping.